Hello, my good students. I hope you all are doing well. This is going to be a short lecture which goes over the second assignment that I want you to create. So for the second assignment, I want you to make sure that you read the second chapter, which talks about how you can input values from the keyboard from the user. So that is what I mean by interactive program. So for this particular program, I want you to write a Java program where you're going to ask the user to input some values. So your job for this program is to calculate the diameter, the circumference, and the area of this circle. So you are going to be asking the user to input some values, and with those values you are going to calculate the diameter, circumference, and the area. And I've given you the formula to use to calculate such those values. For the second one, you are creating an interactive program to calculate the cost of driving your car. And of course, you can find out how much do you drive, miles per gallon, and then price of gas. And then you should write your code, which would output the weekly, monthly, and yearly cost for driving. So this is basically your program where, again, you'll have to upload. For the first program, you're going to upload the source file, and the source file should have detailed comments. You should also have a RAN program screenshot, assessment, reflection, and challenges. Now, the RAN program screenshot and the assessment and reflection and challenges should be in a Word file, and in the Word file you should have the RAN program screenshot. But then you also have to upload the .java file separately, and that file should have comments in there. Let me go over the process of coding with you quickly. So let's bring in an example. And before you start writing your syntax, I want you to follow this process. So let's say I ask you to write an interactive Java application that would calculate how many years or semesters you would need to graduate from your AS program. Also, the program asks you to calculate the cost of attendance. So how would you go about writing this program? So the good programming practice is to plan first. A lot of times students would say, well, we're going to start creating a project, or we're going to start creating a class. Well, that's going to be done later. But the important thing is you need to start planning your program first. Sit down and see what your program is asking you to do. Understand the logic of the program, the requirement of the program, and then write your pseudocode or your flowchart. So that first part is your designing or planning the program. So that would be the number one step first. Okay, so if this is your program, you have to first design or plan your program. Part of your design process is to writing the pseudocode or creating a flowchart. So a pseudocode is nothing but step-by-step, plain simple English statements that you would need to do or write for you to create that program. Okay, so a sequential structure. So what are things like the pseudocode? So first of all, we need to say, okay, how many total hours for AS program? How many hours have you taken? How many hours do you plan to take one semester? Okay, so these are my steps that I need to follow to do my program. Okay, so that's what a pseudocode is. A flowchart is the same as a pseudocode, but now we are using graphical or symbols to depict our beginning, our input, our output. So a parallelogram would allow you to input and output. For a rectangle, you are going to use that for processing. So those are some of the symbols that you use to create your flowchart. So that's the number one thing, designing, planning your program. The second thing is now to write your code. Now remember, this code would come directly from this design, okay? So if you start designing your program first and then writing your syntax, you would have a lot less trouble writing your code and making sure that your code is working correctly. The third step, once you write your code, is to troubleshoot or run your code. The fourth step is to test your program. So your testing is done by inputting a lot of information. So for example, if I ask you to input my 60 hours, how many hours have I taken? I need to check it with different numbers. So it could be 60 first time, 72 next time, hours taken, it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 3.5. And then how many hours do you plan? It could be 15, could be 4, could be 6. Make sure you test with, multiple numbers. And then you got to check and see if your answers are correct. If they're all correct, your logic is correct. However, if it is not, this is when you would come back and review your logic. All right? So this is how you would start designing your program. And these are some of the good programming practices that you should follow for every program that I ask you to write. So coming back, if you are to write this program, then you are probably going to, or you will have to find out how many hours is your AS program, and that would translate into some syntax just like this. System out print line, please enter the total amount of hours. How many have you taken? Another print statement. But at the same time now, the print statement is going to capture some values which needs to be stored in a variable. Then you have to write how many hours do you plan to take one semester. Again, it's going to be captured utilizing the next int or a next double. Those are the methods that you would be used to input those variables that you would, I'm sure you have learned from the second chapter. So you would store that value, and then you have to do a calculation to calculate the number of semester hours. And again, this could be something of a calculation. So this is your answer, and then you're going to display your answer. So if you follow these steps and then try to create your syntax or write your syntax to do these things, then your program should come out correctly. All right? I hope with this information, or armed with this information, you should be able to come in and write your plan for the first program and also the plan for your second program. Make sure you upload your source file and include comments in your source file. You submit your ran program screenshot along with reflection and challenges. If you still have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.